Good morning, everyone. Meteorologist Juana Andrew here with a check of your forecast. And yeah, it's just one of those days. Is it Monday 2.0? Because it certainly feels like Monday 2.0, but it's actually a Tuesday. So here we go. And here's what we got to deal with. So good morning to everyone from Mary Ann to David. Good morning to everyone. Hello to Mike tuning in from Georgetown. Yeah, we're keeping an eye on some of those storms moving through. And DJ says it's raining in North Vernon. Yeah, a lot of the rain has been moving through in areas along and north of 64. And we're peeking into Simpsonville right now. And that is where we're seeing some gloomy conditions. The clouds overhead. I've been watching this camera throughout the morning, and at times you can really see that rain coming down. So for those of you going to be traveling this morning, even into the afternoon, just make sure you are weather aware just in case you run in to one of these showers and thunderstorms. You certainly could lower visibility for those of you out and about. Good morning, Jennifer in Magnolia. Good morning. So overall, what we're looking at is just really going to be some more of these showers and thunderstorms coming our way, and that is something that we'll have to watch. We have this front basically just draped across the state of Kentucky, and that will really just help to keep a lot of these showers around for the morning. And then as this front sinks to the south a little bit more as we get into the afternoon, that will allow us to deal with more of those thunderstorms for those of you further to the south. So good morning to you, Michelle in Linden. Question already. How bad are the storms going to get? My dog is terrified. I understand those little pups just don't like the rain and the thunder and the lightning sometimes. I completely understand, humans as well. So let's just dive into what we're seeing across the area right now. Closer view of the radar, and we're watching multiple rounds of these showers and thunderstorms. A lot of these, as I mentioned, along and north of 64 this morning. And at times we have seen some pretty heavy rain coming down. So we're watching mainly that light to moderate rain in portions of southern Indiana from French Lick to French Lick. I can say words, I promise. I've been up since 1 a.m. Can you tell? So from French Lick to English and all the way over towards Frankfort, we're going to be keeping an eye on some more of that rain. And some of the heaviest rain, let me zoom in, is actually over in the parts of Spencer County and over towards Franklin County. So all this moving out of the Shelbyville area and pushing towards Frankfort. So if you know anybody traveling between Shelbyville and Frankfort on 64, yeah, that visibility is going to be a mess with the rain pushing through. So please be careful as you're heading out. Now, most of the rain this morning, as I've been saying, right along 64 in southern Indiana. And that is where we've seen around half an inch to even an inch of rain in some spots. With repeated rounds of rain that we're going to be dealing with as we get towards lunchtime, minor localized flooding is possible. And by this, I'm really talking about those spots in your neighborhood that just don't drain well every single time it rains. That is where you can run into a couple of issues. We're not expecting any widespread flooding situations at all, but certainly something that we'll have to watch for those typical spots. And the ones that is for sure. And you can see the difference already that the rain, the clouds have had on our temperatures. So as of right now, it's 9:42 a.m. I'm live. We are seeing upper 50s, low 60s, right where that rain is coming down. So from Shelbyville up towards Paoli, towards North Vernon and Louisville, upper 50s, low 60s. Then for those of you south of the parkways, y'all barely seen anything so far this morning. And that is why you're in the upper 60s and low 70s. And since you're going to be dry through the majority of the morning, this gives you plenty of time to warm up for those of you further to the south. So from E-Town to Litchfield, Lebanon, Campbellsville, Columbia, you could easily climb into upper 70s and low 80s before and even towards lunch, so towards noon. And that will be the fuel for a lot of those storms that we'll have to watch for later on today. So let's dive into what we're expecting throughout the rest of the day. Here's one of the models, and it's been doing very, very well this morning. So we're going to keep an eye on it. So we are seeing more of these showers and thunderstorms just riding along, basically along that front like a train on train tracks, right along 64 for the rest of the morning. Some pockets of heavy rain certainly embedded in this. So we'll keep that through 11 o'clock. We'll keep that through noon. Notice the temperatures as we get towards noon. Still, mainly those 50s and 60s along and north of 64, upper 70s, potentially low 80s for those of you south of the parkway. So that's going to be a key thing in everything as we get into the afternoon. And here we go, rolling towards 1 to 2 p.m. Notice that we start to see this rain shifting further to the south, starting to see more of those showers and thunderstorms now pushing further into Kentucky, closer to the Bluegrass Parkway, the Western Kentucky Parkways. That's when we're going to start to see some more of those storms moving further to the south. And we're going to keep that going through 2 p.m. and even towards 3 p.m. this afternoon, seeing some more of those storms continuing to gradually track to the south as that front allows, of course, more of that rain to move to the south. And notice those little pockets of red. I'm going to go back so you can see things a little bit better, but a little bit of those pockets of red and pink showing up. That is the model picking up on the potential for those stronger storms. And that is something that we'll have to keep a very close eye on for the afternoon, because that severe threat is coming along as those storms start to push into that very warm, very moist air across portions of south central Kentucky. As we get further into the evening hours, past 5 p.m., the strong storms going to be out of our area. We'll probably be hearing about more of the strong severe weather happening just outside of our region towards the Lake Cumberland area, especially as we get into the late afternoon and the evening hours. So everything is going to start to wrap up for our region once we get past about 5 p.m. And then we'll keep a few showers spotty across portions of Kentucky through about 7, 8 o'clock tonight. And after that, the clouds will start to roll out. So the main focus in terms of the severe threat will be between noon and 5 p.m. today. So it has been pushed up a little bit. If you're watching me yesterday, it looks like we're looking at about noon to 5 p.m. as we continue throughout the day today. And this is one of the models that shows the potential for some storm rotation. And where you see the white streak is where is the potential for some weak rotation, but it's picking up on the chance for a little bit more of that spin happening as we get into the afternoon. So 2, 3, 4 o'clock across south central Kentucky. Don't pay attention to exactly where these streaks are, because sometimes the models aren't exactly right, but certainly picking up on that potential for a little bit of rotation. So the potential for a spin up tornado certainly is there. That's something else that we'll have to watch. And y'all throw your questions that you may have into the comments, and I'll do my best to answer them for you this morning. And once we get past as around 5 p.m., as I mentioned, all of that moving on out. So let's just break down that severe threat for today. Notice those of you in Southern Indiana, you are still out of it. You have the rain that is locked in this morning. That is really going to help to keep you cooler and help to dampen that severe threat. So watch that closely. Now, right along 64, so from Frankfort to Louisville, to Shelbyville, down to Brandenburg, Litchfield, you are underneath that marginal risk of severe weather. That's a level 1 out of 5. Now, we are seeing that slight risk of severe weather for those of you south of Bardstown and E-Town. So we're talking from the Springfield area, very southern portions of Nelson County into LaRue County, and also going to be seeing some more of that threat towards Lebanon, Campbellsville as we get into the afternoon. So that's where that slight risk is, and that is where our better opportunity for some of that severe weather is. Now, notice off towards our south, the slightly darker color showing up, that is where there's an enhanced risk of severe weather. So if you have any friends, maybe in the Lake Cumberland area towards London, Kentucky, maybe give them a heads up because they do have a better chance to see some of those strong to severe storms than we do. And that is going to be later on this evening, especially once we get past on 5, 6, 7 o'clock. So if you have any friends further to the south towards London, especially in southeastern Kentucky, gives them a heads up that the storms that we're going to be seeing moving their way later on this evening. So in terms of let's breaking down each of the individual threats for today. In terms of that potential for a spin-up tornado, that is mainly going to be south of the Parkway, so towards portions of Washington, Marion, parts of Greene, Taylor, Adair County, LaRue County, you're underneath that chance. The chance is low, but it's there. And it's something that, of course, we're going to still watch because sometimes these spin-ups are really quick. They can happen in between radar scans. We've seen that happen the past couple of weeks where one quick tornado comes up, radar barely even sees it, and then it's gone. So it's just going to be one of those situations where you want to make sure you're aware of the potential, but overall, the threat is low, but you just want to make sure you're prepared. The main thing that we have to watch with the storms for today, that damaging wind threat, that potential to see wind gusts over 60 miles per hour. And that is something that stretches from the 64 corridor, so from Frankfort to Louisville, all the way to the south with that threat greater for those of you south of the parkways. So keep that in mind. And in terms of that potential to see some large hail, once again, greater the further south you go. So that is why I've been focused in talking a lot about what's happening for those of you further to the south of the parkways. And we are going to be watching you very, very closely throughout the rest of the day. So let's diving into some questions here. So Sierra asks, so Madison, Indiana, pretty much just rain and some storms, not severe. Basically, that is where you are, Sierra, because you've seen so much of this rain throughout the morning, on and off, and the cool temperatures, you don't really have a lot of energy for the atmosphere to tap into in terms of that severe threat. So that is why Southern Indiana, not really outlook. Now, you do have to keep an eye on the rounds of rain because that could cause some minor flooding in some spots, the spots that just don't drain well. That's something that we could see in your area, Sierra. But other than that, in terms of like the better potential to see those damaging wind gusts, see some of that hail, that's mainly to your south. So hopefully I answered that for you, Sierra. And then, of course, we're talking about the rain chances and the rainfall totals. For those of you along and north of 64, including Sierra, including Madison, we've already seen 1/2 inch to 1 inch of rain, and then we could add on an additional 1/2 inch to 1 inch as we continue throughout the rest of the morning and into the early afternoon. So that's why that minor flooding threat is showing up. But thankfully, that is not something that is going to be widespread or super significant. So that's some good news right there. Now, as we continue to look ahead, we're going to be watching for some more of course, that fog once the clouds clear later on tonight. So the clouds are going to clear out pretty quickly as the night goes along. And then with all that rain that we have today, plus the clear skies, plus the light winds overnight, we could end up with a situation where we could see some patchy and in some cases dense fog as we get into tomorrow morning. So that's something that we'll have to watch for the Wednesday morning commute. So a lot to watch in that regard. I've only seen one question, and that's from Sierra. So I don't know if there's just a glitch in the system or you all are good and you don't have any questions. But just keep throwing those there in the comments. And let's talk about the next 10 days. We are going to be watching for sunshine and a few clouds around for tomorrow, 70s for highs, more of that sunshine on your Thursday. Now, we do see another rain chance trying to show up towards Friday, so that's something we'll have to watch. We could see that rain as early as Friday afternoon. That timing is still something that we're working to nail down, and we're going to get a better view of that once we get past today's system. So we'll have to watch that rain chance, especially as we get into Friday night and Saturday morning. That is when we have the best opportunity for some of that rain. And once we get past that time frame, we do dry out for the rest of the weekend. So there is some rain for portions of the weekend, but at least not all of the weekend. So at least we can get some good outdoor time for those of you going to be out and about. So in terms of that severe threat, yet again, for those of you who maybe are just tuning in, we are talking about around noon to 5 p.m. That is when we have the best opportunity to see some of those storms. The greatest risk will be for those of you south of the parkways. So we'll keep an eye on that as well as the morning goes along. It's mainly for you, those of you further to the south, that severe threat. So just have that wave weather app turned on, notifications turned on, your location turned on. If you haven't used the app in a bit, you haven't checked it in a bit, open it up, make sure that it is following your location, because sometimes it's weird and it doesn't like to do that. So make sure you do that, and we should be A-okay. Of course, I'm here through midday and through noon. And then also we'll be talking about, of course, those of you further to the afternoon, if you're watching it then Ryan and Kevin will be in. So everything will be covered. Lois, your question. I have to be in Louisville around 1:30 today. What will it be like there? So Lois, to answer your question, we are going to be talking about some showers and thunderstorms in the area in Louisville around that time, and some of those can produce some heavier rain and some gusty winds around the 1:30 time frame. So hopefully that helps with your plans. If you're going to be driving into Louisville, budget maybe an extra 20-ish minutes just in case you get stuck in one of the heavier downpours and traffic starts to move a little bit slowly. But if you're traveling, make sure you're checking the radar before you head out as well so you can be safe. Now, Paul, so Louisville does have a chance for severe weather. We do have a chance for some stronger wind gusts. Yes, that's the main threat we're looking for Louisville. Everything else in terms of that tornado threat, the hail threat, is mainly south of the metro. So we'll keep an eye on the gusty winds. We'll keep an eye on the heavy rain for Louisville. That's the main thing we're looking at. I can't rule out everything, but certainly it's a damaging wind threat for Louisville for this afternoon. And for Louisville, the time frame itself for some of those stronger storms looks to be between noon and about 3 p.m. Once you get past 3 p.m., the metro looks to be a little bit more in the clear based on the current timing that I'm seeing. So hopefully that helped to answer your question, Paul, and maybe even so, Lois. Any other questions? Just throw them in the comments. I'm about to hop off so I can get ready for midday, but I'll try to go back and answer some of your questions to help you out as you're planning throughout the rest of your day. So everyone, I hope you have a wonderful Tuesday. Stay weather aware. Make sure that you are staying safe as possible as we continue throughout the rest of the day. And we'll keep an eye on everything going on for you. So thank you for watching, and keep an eye on the radar for the rest of your Tuesday.